I want to be excited about this hire. I really do. But excitement without honesty doesn't win championships, and it definitely doesn't maximize Lamar Jackson's prime. The Ravens did more than just hire a new head coach tonight. They significantly shrunk their margin for error. Because there's really one question that's more pressing since they've done what they've done than anything else. And here it is. Who's calling plays for Lamar Jackson? Let's talk about it.
Let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens. We are one flock, we are one flock, we are one flock, we are one flock.
What's going on, fam? Welcome back to One Flock. I'm your host, Rob Love. Wow, what a busy week. We were just here talking about who was going to be the next coach. And before we could get finished with our nightly preparations, news broke last night that Jesse Minter is the new head coach for the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I know you've heard this news. This is not breaking news at this point. This is reactionary. You've had your chance to digest it in your way. I've digested it. But we're going to be breaking down the most important question in Baltimore right now. The Ravens have hired Jesse Minter. And whether this works or whether this fails spectacularly, it's going to depend entirely on what happens next. Because defense isn't the most glaring issue in Baltimore. Offense is the key. And I use that word key because when you think of a key, you're talking about what unlocks the next level. We'll talk about why the true key, and the Ravens should have recognized this, and hopefully they still do, is on the offensive side. Now, let me be clear before we go any further. This is not an anti-Minter rant. Jesse Minter is a legitimate, very legitimate defensive mind. His units are disciplined. They're flexible. They show up in big moments. They don't beat themselves. If you've seen them in the playoffs, when the Chargers were in the playoffs, his defenses got the ball several times, turned over the other team, something that's been an issue for the Baltimore Ravens when they've gone in recent years. All of that is real. The San Diego Chargers, I think is what they were when he first showed up. Maybe they were the LA Chargers already. But when the Chargers first got Minter, they were suffering. They were one of the bottom tier defenses in the NFL. He immediately turned their group around, and they live in the top 10, top 5 in a lot of different categories. So none of that is being disputed. I'm not on an anti-Minter rant because I think he's just some bum. He is not. He is legitimate as a defensive coordinator. But the head coach in the NFL today is not just about scheming or coordinating one side of the football. It's more about being a CEO. And what do we mean by that? Well, when you think of a CEO, it's someone who is set up to build and equip a complete staff. You're talking about somebody who can empower, if you're a defensive coordinator in your past, well, now that you're in the CEO position, you have to be able to empower elite offensive minds. It's about knowing what you don't know and then being able to hire people who do know what you don't. And that's where the concern really begins when you look at this hire of Jesse Minter, because when you zoom out and you look at the original coaching board, I'm talking about the 20 names that the Baltimore Ravens were looking at as potential head coaches. The scarcity on that list was not on defense. The scarcity was elite offensive minds. There were all kinds of guys on that list. There were quality defensive minds, lots of them. But the truly elite offensive minds, when this process started, that jumped out. And that matters because the Ravens, we know, already have an MVP, two-time should have been 3-time MVP at quarterback. They have a future Hall of Famer at running back with Derrick Henry. They have several elite offensive talents, quality tight ends. Running back room is awesome. This isn't a rebuild on the offense. And it's moments like what the Ravens had here where they really had a chance to maximize a window, a true window in time with this type of offense. It's in moments like this that the cleanest path is really simple. You secure the best offensive mind first. If you know your team is built like the Ravens are, you have your strongest weapons on offense, you're looking at all these coaches and there's very few elite offensive minds, you secure one of those dudes first. And then you fill the defensive needs with one of the plethora of defensive coordinators on that list. Now, there's one situation where that wouldn't have been necessary, and that's if the Ravens knew that they had Mike McDaniel in the bag as their next offensive coordinator. Because if you knew you had McDaniel lined up, well, everything works. Jesse Minter is a fine hire. It'll work out great if you've got Mike McDaniel as your offensive coordinator. Let's say it plainly, okay? If the Ravens got a rabbit up their sleeve and somehow they know that they are indeed landing Mike McDaniel as their offensive coordinator to pair up with Jesse Minter as head coach, then this is a win. If McDaniel is not actually headed towards the Chargers, as we've heard from several reliable sources, of course, nothing's done yet. Of course, until something's done, anything's possible. In fact, I'm saying to Eric DeCosta today, if you want to make this hire of Jesse Minter a surefire success, if you want to cement yourself as having done what was necessary in replacing John Harbaugh and securing, more importantly, the prime Lamar Jackson era that's left, you're on the phone and you're offering Mike McDaniel whatever it takes to make sure that he all of a sudden is like, don't really want to go to Los Angeles, too much traffic. I'd really like to be on the East Coast, get some crab legs, be in B-more. You know what I mean? Who wants to be in L.A.? Too much competition. Every time you turn around, it's another sport. You got 2 NBA teams in L.A. You got 2 NFL teams in L.A. Come on now. Get to Baltimore where you can really shine. If I'm Eric DeCosta, I'm selling that right now because McDaniel gives you proven elite offensive creativity. He gives you quarterback maximization, which is what you need if you have an elite quarterback. A system that bends defenses. He's innovative. Immediate schematic credibility comes with Mike McDaniel. You pair McDaniel's innovation with Jesse Minter's discipline that we keep hearing about, that's dangerous. Then I'm excited about the hire. Then I can get really, really excited about what's coming up, and we all should be. But every credible report right now says McDaniel's likely headed to Los Angeles, and if that door closes on McDaniel, then everything changes about this hire. And I'm going to show you why. I don't just want to talk about it. I want to show you. Put this graphic up right now. If you see here, these are the 6 remaining credible offensive minds based off who the Ravens have interviewed and have talked to that potentially could end up as the offensive coordinator on Jesse Minter's staff. Now, number 1, you see got him right there. That's the gold medalist. That's Mike McDaniel. If we get him, we've already covered this. He's the gold standard. He's the cleanest fit. He's the only option that instantly justifies hiring a defensive coach when you have Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry on your offense. Now, if this happens, we all celebrate. We throwing a party. But right now, it looks unlikely. So that takes us to our second best option, Clint Kubiak, who many were hoping would be the head coach. He's the Seahawks offensive coordinator. He's busy preparing for NFC championship game, potentially a Super Bowl in a couple of weeks. This is where things get frustrating. Because if McDaniel wasn't available, if the Ravens knew that McDaniel was for sure going to the Chargers, Clint Kubiak should have been your number one target. And you'll see why as we continue down this list. You bring Clint Kubiak in, this is a logical move as head coach. Why? Because offensive minds are harder to find. Defensive coordinators are everywhere as we look at the guys on the list who have been available and who are looking for a new place to land. Baltimore has always been a spot that defensive-minded coordinators like to go. It would not have been a stretch to get one here. You could have hired Kubiak. Then you could have brought in as defensive coordinator Weaver, Joseph, Schwartz. You still would have been elite on defense. Instead, by hiring Mentor as your head coach, you now need Kubiak to make a parallel move. You need him to potentially leave an NFC championship team or a Super Bowl championship team as defensive coordinator and be like, you know what? I'm going to leave that to come over and be your defensive coordinator, Baltimore. I'm going to leave a Super Bowl team to make a parallel move. That doesn't even sound like something he would do. So the Baltimore Ravens had to know that if they didn't offer him a head coaching job, it was very unlikely, looking at the success he's having at Seattle, that they were going to get him. And if they already knew they weren't going to get McDaniel, then you got to get Kubiak. So while Kubiak is still on this list, realistically, it's fading fast, the opportunity to be able to get him. Number 3 on this list, you see Joe Brady here. This is number 3. I want you to understand the drop-off. Either one of those first two, McDaniel, Kubiak, man, your offense is going to be superb. We've talked about this. You see what Kubiak is doing with Sam Darnold. We all know what Mike McDaniel has done with offenses. Either one of them two dudes, and none of us can even imagine what the Baltimore Ravens offense looks like next year with Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers, Bateman, all these guys. You have no idea. The sky's the limit, right? Well, unfortunately, with the rest of the people on this list, the sky and the limit is very, very known already. Or for those that it's unknown, it's because they haven't proven themselves. Joe Brady's one of these guys. Former Bills offensive coordinator. We know his ceiling. We've seen it. We've seen him with Josh Allen. We've also seen in those years the inconsistency with his offenses, how oftentimes there was a heavy reliance on quarterback improvisation. Many of the same problems we've seen with some of the offensive schemes around Lamar Jackson, to where Lamar Jackson had to make it work. Josh Allen had to make it work. Limited schematic evolution. Is he bad, Brady? No. Is he elite? Also no. And Lamar Jackson deserves elite. He does. And the Ravens had an opportunity to fill that need. And at least at this point, it's not looking like they've left themselves that option. Number 4 on this list, Cliff Kingsbury. We've been hearing a lot of reports. There was some report leaked that Lamar Jackson, several of the receivers are rumored to have said that they like Cliff Kingsbury. Now, is that true? You don't know. He's the former Commanders offensive coordinator. He also spent time at Arizona with Kyler Murray. We know who Cliff Kingsbury is. He shows up hot. I mean, when he first comes out the gate, his offensives, they put up big points for a season. The defenses adjust and production fades, and you never see that type of production from him again. There is a ceiling here with Cliff Kingsbury, and we've already seen it. For a young quarterback, maybe. But for Lamar Jackson in his prime, that's not the bet you make. You don't bring in a guy who has demonstrated that his ceiling is here. Davis Webb, number 5. the Broncos quarterback coach. Now, this is an intriguing one. He's young. He's smart. He's promising. Looking at what he's been able to accomplish with Bo Nix is impressive. But let's be honest. This would still be an experiment if you bring in Davis Webb. And experimenting during Lamar Jackson's prime, that's dangerous, especially if you didn't have to. If you could have got a surefire thing, and that's what I've been preaching. Get a surefire thing. You have an opportunity, had an opportunity to get a surefire offensive mind on staff to maximize your generational talent on the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. You don't test theories when you're holding a Ferrari. You go get a driver and you drive that bad boy. And this is where I'm very frustrated with the Ravens if we don't end up with the two drivers that are left out there, with one of them. If you don't end up with Kubiak or McDaniel, what are we doing? Number 6, Nathan Shieldhouse, the Rams pass game coordinator. Now, he's another developmental mind. He's another projection. He's another, maybe in 3 years he might be elite. But again, the timeline, maybe in 3 years, maybe in next year, maybe, none of that fits Lamar's window. Lamar's 28, 29. He's very much in his prime for a quarterback right now. But those years in the NFL, we know what it stands for, not for long. You get, especially with the style of play that makes Lamar special, you get another 2-3 years. And then that's, you're leaving that athleticism. You get in your 30s, it changes. This is the real issue. It's a very uncomfortable truth. By hiring a defensive coach, the Ravens limited their offensive options. Now, they didn't eliminate them. I want to stress this again. They could still pull a rabbit out of their hat and get Mike McDaniel here. Kubiak might blow everyone's mind and say, yes, I'm going to take a parallel position with the Ravens. But the Ravens have certainly narrowed the runway. And when you're looking at the board outside of the two guys that we've talked about, Kubiak and McDaniel, every remaining option either has already shown his ceiling or hasn't proven that their ceiling is measurable yet. And that's not ideal. You're either gambling or you're going with a limited outlook. No one should be limiting the outlook on a generational talent at quarterback like Lamar Jackson. And here's what this means for Mentor. This is his real test. His real test, his first big one, isn't going to happen next season. It's not going to happen on Sundays. It's not going to happen on Monday night. It's not going to happen on third down. His real test, his biggest test, new head coach Jesse Mentor, your biggest test is right now. Can you recruit? Can you convince? Can you attract an elite offensive mind? Because if you nail that hire, you're going to look brilliant. You will be brilliant. And your time here in Baltimore will be blessed because you have a plethora of talent. And with the right offensive coordinator, we know what you can do on defense. But if you miss, this hire will be remembered as the moment that the Ravens mismanaged Lamar Jackson's prime. And who wants to be witness to that? I want this to work. We all do. But wanting something doesn't make it true. I've learned that time and time again. This hire that the Ravens have made raises just as many questions as it answers. And until we know who is going to be calling the plays, the verdict is still out. Before we get out of here, I want to say thank you again to our sponsor, AG1. The link's in the description. First-time customers, you're going to get over $100 in free product, and honestly, it is so worth it. You're talking about one scoop a day, tastes amazing. You just stir it into a drink it, and it supports your immunity. It supports your health overall. It supports gut health. It's awesome. It tastes great. It's easy, and it's one small habit that makes a huge difference. Take care of yourself, right? We all deserve that. Haven't been getting as much rest trying to keep up with this coaching carousel. But listen, we're going to keep you posted. It's not over yet. We're not off this ride. We got to hopefully I'll be announcing soon. We got McDaniels. I don't know. We'll see. For One Flock, I'm your host, Rob Love. We're closing in on 2,000 subscribers. So if you haven't already liked, subscribed, shared, please take an opportunity right now to do so. Make sure you hit that bell so you don't miss any of the updates. They will be coming. You know how busy and crazy this coaching carousel has been and will no doubt continue to be until it's all settled. And remember, there's one thing in this world that we know it'll never be too full of. That thing is love. So find somebody that needs a little bit more in their life and give it to them for me, all right? You already know my last words. Thanks for flying with the brother. We'll see you next time. Let's fly, y'all.
We take the field as one flock. Come on, Ravens, here we go as one flock. We keep grinding till we soar to the top. Come on, Ravens, here we go as one flock. We keep grinding till we soar to the top. Let's go, Ravens, let's go, Ravens.